Good morning, 9th and 10th grade. So today we're going a little bit deeper into your verb tenses. And I think this is really important for you guys to continue going over because the more you practice it, the better you're going to be at it. And verbs are, to me, the most complicated of the 8 parts of speech. Nouns and pronouns and all that kind of stuff, they're pretty straightforward. But to me, verbs are the most complicated because they can change so much. So 9th grade, you're starting off on page 107. 10th grade, you're starting off on page 92. I'm going to show you guys what's in your book. 9th grade, this is your book, and you have this great conjugation of the verb go, and it really helps you understand how we change the verbs to match the tenses, how we change the verbs to go into the different tenses. So definitely look this over, read it, focus on it. 10th grade, you guys have a conjugation of the verb see on page 92. So you're definitely going to want to look those over, focus on them, because what they're doing is they're showing you how they do that, how they conjugate the one verb. You're going to do that with other verbs as well. They're just showing you an example with one verb, but there are going to be other examples that you can use with those verbs. They're all going to be used basically the same way. Now they're going to use some terms that get a little confusing, such as first person, meaning you're talking about yourself. I is a first person noun. Second person would be you're talking directly to someone else. You're going to do this. So I is first person, you is second person, and then third person, it would be he, she, or it. So if you've ever wondered why you're watching a movie and someone uses their own name, oftentimes you'll do that with little kids. You'll hear people talking to little kids and they'll say, "Oh, mommy loves you so much." Okay, that's talking in the third person. You're talking about yourself as if you were a third person, a different person in the room. Okay, so that's why when somebody says that in a movie, "Oh, why are you talking in the third person?" That's what that means. Okay, so first person is me. I'm talking about myself. Second person is you. I'm talking directly to you or about you. And then third person, you're talking about somebody else who's not even there. He, she, it. You're talking about that third person who's not around, or maybe they are just across the room, but you're talking about them. So today we're going to actually get into your tenses a little bit more. We're going to kind of dig into them and look at them a little bit more in depth than we have in the past. So 9th grade, you're going to turn over to page 108. 10th grade, you have a little bit of a different exercise here. So you're going to go through the conjugation of the verb, and then they're going to take you to an exercise. You'll be working on exercise A on that page, just sort of recognizing these different types of verbs, just to give you some extra practice, just to help you out with this a little bit more. One note before we go on to that, we need to talk about the progressive and emphatic forms of verbs. Progressive, it shows a continuing action, and it will always be paired with the helping verb be, been, been, have, has, had. Those are all being verbs. And then the emphatic form shows emphasis, just like it kind of sounds like. So the emphatic form of a verb shows emphasis. It will be used with the helping verb do or does or did, or a form of the verb do. So I do like French fries. Okay, you're being emphatic about that. I do like them. For continuing, I will be writing this paper for the next few weeks. If you're talking about your research paper for my class, I'll be writing this paper for the next few weeks. That's a progressive form of the verb. It's a continuing action. Maybe you did sit down and get it all done in one night, but you've been working on it. You wrote your note cards and you did your research and you wrote your outline, and now you're writing the paper. It's been a progressive form. So when you use the verb be, you're basically making that a continual action. So that's what that's talking about. 9th grade, I don't think you had that note. It's not quite something that you've learned yet, but it's okay. You guys can always learn something ahead of time. And then when we get to it next year, you'll be like, "Oh, I already knew that." Yes, you did. And you can always come back and watch the video. So that will help you. So 10th grade, that was more for you, but just so you guys know. All right. So 9th grade, you're going to be on page 108. 10th grade, I want you to go ahead and turn over to page 94. And we're talking about using verb tenses, and we're talking about the different types. So the present tense is talking about an action or a condition that is existing right now, right in this present time. I'm not asking you how you felt 3 days ago. I'm not asking you how you were going to feel tomorrow. I'm asking you, how do you feel right now? And that's the present tense of the verb. It's always something that's either happening or it is a condition that is existing right now. Right now, as we're talking on this video, you could be hungry. That's an existing condition right now. In 10 minutes, you go get yourself a snack from the kitchen. You're not hungry anymore. The joys of being home when you're doing schoolwork, right? You can just walk into the kitchen anytime you want. Okay. Then the present tense does have some special uses. First of all, if you're talking about something that is a universal truth, something that it is no matter what you do. For instance, both of you have the same sentence. In Columbus's day, some people did not believe that the earth is round. Now, why aren't we putting that into past tense? Because, they didn't, back in the past, they didn't think about the earth being round. Or they thought it was flat. They actually, in that historical time period, they thought that you could sail so far and you'd just sail off the end of the earth. Which of course now we know that's not possible, but at that time they didn't know. They hadn't explored that far. But the fact that we use is there, they did not believe that the earth is round. It's because the earth is round and the earth is round. And you can look at satellite shots. You can read your Bible. It talks about the earth being set on a circumference. The earth is round. It's a universal truth. So you want to make sure that if it is a universal truth, it's in the present tense. It's something that has always been and something that will always be. The present tense also, has another use, a future action. If you have a present tense verb and an adverb phrase, for instance, your sentence, his plane arrives in the morning. Arrives is a future tense verb, or is a present tense verb, but it has an adverb phrase directly following it. If you have that very strange combination, the present tense verb with the adverb phrase, it is technically a present tense verb being used for the future tense. That can be a little confusing, but you'll notice this is just kind of giving you an overview. It's not something that you'll be working with very much, but it's just something to give you that idea. So a present tense verb with an adverb phrase immediately following it is technically being used for the future tense. You'll be okay. All right, past tense indicates an action or something that or a condition that existed at a past time. Maybe 5 hours ago, you were hungry, you were starving, you hadn't eaten yet, and now all of a sudden you're fine, now you're okay. But in the past, you were hungry. The past tense everything is talking about something that happened in the past or something that existed in the past. Yesterday, I walked outside. Yesterday, that happened yesterday. It's not happening right now. Right now, you're watching the video. Yesterday, you walked outside. That was a past tense. That's something that happened in the past. And then the future tense is indicating something that will happen. It hasn't happened yet. It's not happening right now. It didn't happen in the past, but it will happen in the future. I will go with you. I shall go with you. Shall and will. Now, to me, future tense is the easiest to spot because you have to use the helping verbs shall or will, always. So to me, that's one of the easiest ones to find. Now, shall is kind of a fancy term. We don't really say shall much anymore, but you can. And if you want to dress up your sentences a little bit, you can use shall. Most of the time we say, I will do that. Your mom says, hey, take out the garbage. I will sometime in the future, undisclosed, because if you set a specific time, it actually has to be done, right? So you kind of set that indistinct in the future. Sure, Mom, I will take care of that sometime. All right, that's the future tense. So you have present happening right now. You have the past, it happened at some point, and then you have the future. It's going to happen. It hasn't really happened yet, but it will. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here, and part 2 will be our perfect tenses, because they're a little more complicated, and to put a 20-minute video on YouTube takes forever. So I'm going to stop the video here and we'll pick it up in a few minutes.